Hello world, this is Lisa Friedrichsen, your friend and computer science instructor. And if you're watching this YouTube, you're probably in my Web 114 class, JavaScript 1, or maybe you're just following along on YouTube, which is great as well. In our JavaScript 1 class, we're using Murach's JavaScript and jQuery book. It's a great book at a great price. For our JavaScript 1 class, we're going to be covering chapters 1 through 7, pure JavaScript essentials. The book also has 5 chapters on jQuery essentials and then 6 excellent chapters on advanced JavaScript skills that combine JavaScript and jQuery. We're not going through chapters 8 through 18 in JavaScript 1, merely chapters 1 through 7. In this series of short screencasts, I'm going to debrief on the solutions that you will create as you go through each chapter. Now, chapter 1 starts off with a bang and gives you a pretty meaty JavaScript example right off the bat. Your assignment for chapter 1 will be to read chapter 1 and key the exercise. The exercise consists of 4 different files, 2 HTML files, a CSS file, and a JavaScript file. All the code is given to you in the book. And here is the resulting exercise. It's a little form, and we're going to use JavaScript to help us make sure that the data that we're entering is accurate and as valid as possible before we send it to the server. And so if we click our Join Our List button, we're seeing that we have some required fields. If we fill in a required field and the email address with 2 different values, we're going to get a different message. That's what our JavaScript is doing. It's checking these entries and making sure that they're all filled out completely, that the first and the second email address match, and that if any of those problems occur, we're getting a meaningful message on the web page. As soon as we filled the form out correctly and click Join Our List, then we're moving on to a resulting web page. Here's the HTML. You'll find that the book has a paired page approach. Your explanations are all on the left, and then figures and code are on the right. Your CSS is given to you on page 17. If you have any questions on what any of these declarations are doing, it's important that you ask me. So I don't think you're going to have any trouble with the exercise given the code is given to you, but it's incumbent upon you to understand it as you're typing it. Not the JavaScript yet, but certainly the HTML and CSS. And if you don't, let's discuss that. The HTML mainly consists of these controls inside the form tags. So this is our entire form. We've got 3 labels, label, label, label. We've got 3 textual input boxes, and then we've got the button input element to initiate our JavaScript. So the JavaScript's going to run as soon as we click that Join Our List button. As far as CSS, that code is also given to you on page 17. And again, as you're writing it, be sure that all of these declarations and statements make sense to you. And then, of course, the JavaScript. The JavaScript is shown on page 19. And again, it might be uncomfortable at first to just start typing this code without really understanding what it means, but you'll get an awareness. You'll start getting comfortable with the syntax and the colors in your code editor. I'm using Notepad++, but you're welcome to use whatever code editor you like best. The book favors Aptana Studio with Notepad++. We have brackets. We have Microsoft Visual Studio in all of our labs. So whatever code editor you're most comfortable with is just great for this class. And basically what this code is doing is declaring 2 different functions. The first function name is going to be the $sign. I want you to put your name as a comment and the current date at the top of all files, whether they be HTML or CSS or JavaScript files. And then the rest of the JavaScript, you will probably just start writing. You will not maybe understand it yet. You're not expected to understand it yet, but we will unpack what a var is, a variable. We will unpack what a function is. We will unpack document.getElement by ID. We will unpack where we use curly braces, the if statement. We will unpack all of this and explain it thoroughly in the next few chapters. For right now, just type it in, get familiar, kind of comfortable with the syntax and color coding of your particular editor. Note that you'll want to make sure your curly braces and your parentheses are always paired correctly. That's a very common error in JavaScript and many programming languages. And just try and run it. You may start sensing what's happening with the code, even though we're just writing it at this point and we're not really truly understanding it yet. Code is running when the window loads. So if I refresh this little message, the DOM has now been built, It's coming off of this statement. It's only about 35 lines of JavaScript. Start noticing things about the language. For example, that a full statement ends in a semicolon, that it can be indented for readability, that an if statement always is followed with a question, Boolean true or false. If you can just start paying attention to some of the little nuances of the language, that's all that's required in Chapter 1. Just get it to run. The book provides solution files for the exercises in the chapter, as well as the exercises at the end of the chapter. And by the way, I'm not assigning any of the exercises at the end of Chapter 1. All I want you to do is key these 4 files as instructed within the pages of Chapter 1. I just want you to get this application to work. I would encourage you to not look at those solution files. Don't submit them as your homework. That just cheats you of the education process of learning this code. We're going to write it, we're going to get our little application to work, and then we're going to unpack it as the next few chapters unfold. Thank you.